All right, everybody, I'm back for day 3. So far, so good. And I actually managed to remember to put on my cheap little microphone, wireless microphone, lavalier, whatever you want to call it. I think it actually does a slightly better job than just the phone microphone. I tested it last night once I found it, buried in a drawer. So hopefully this is a little better and easier on your ears, listening to me go on. Anyway, I'm back at beautiful Fort Missoula, another beautiful day in western Montana, and I may stop again a few times and show you some interesting buildings that were either here originally with the fort or have been moved here as part of a historical museum on site. But I wanted to talk a little bit today about keto. How many of you have tried keto? I have. I let myself lapse on it. I did it for about 2 or 3 months, and I was getting results, and I felt good, and I was losing weight. Not a ton, but a noticeable amount. I think I lost 10 or 20 pounds over the course of those couple of months. But then I got sick because I'm kind of a mess. Amongst all of my other stuff, I also have allergies, and I'm somewhat prone to getting things like, well, a cough, first of all, as you can hear, but also things like bronchitis, walking pneumonia, fun stuff like that. So all that by way of saying, I was doing keto, doing all right with it, doing pretty darn well with it, actually enjoying it, got into the habit, and then I got sick. And from everything that I've read and been told, and my own personal experience, it's really hard to recover from things like bronchitis or pneumonia when you're on keto. Your body actually needs carbs for healing. So I went off keto for that, and I never really went back on, which was nobody's fault but mine. But I did find it to be helpful. You know, I'm not going to recommend it one way or another. And obvious disclaimer, I'm not a doctor or any kind of health, medical, anything. I'm just a guy who was a teacher, and I'm now a business dude, and a guy walking around with a camera and wheezing into the microphone. So that's my current bio. But all that by way of saying, I wouldn't recommend keto necessarily, but I wouldn't unrecommend it. If you can create the habit for yourself, give it a try. Check with your doctor first. Do some due diligence medically on your own. You know, don't just listen to people like me. But I did find it helpful. Now, I was not a hardcore guy, and that's probably why I only lost like 10 or 20 pounds over those couple of months. Because with keto, the goal is, in the name, you're trying to get your body into ketosis. And to do that, you have to be having, the guideline is under 50 grams of carbs a day for a sustained period to get yourself into ketosis. And, you know, the people who just shed weight like crazy, those are the folks who are going hardcore and doing stuff like adding a stick of butter to a cup of black coffee. I kid you not. People do that. And then sitting down to nothing but 1.5 pounds of ground beef for dinner every night. So that was not really in my wheelhouse. Was not going to do that. But what I did do is I managed to get pretty well under 50 calories a day. I did that with a lot of meat. At the time, not a lot of chicken. I'm not the biggest fan of chicken, unless it's chicken thighs, chicken legs, chicken thighs. I do not like chicken breast at all. To me, even when it's done well, it's still sad. It's a sad little cut of meat. Anyway, did a lot of meat. Unfortunately, I had to cut out the love of my life, potatoes. Sometime I'm going to do one of these walks with you and just sing the praises of potatoes for 15 minutes. I don't know who needs that in their life, but there's probably somebody. I'd watch it. But I found alternatives. So I was eating a lot of beef. I was eating some salad with the beef. If I put any dressing on it, it was my own dressing, made of olive oil or avocado oil and apple cider vinegar, which is also supposed to be really good. And I found like alternative noodles. There are these, I think there's some kind of fungi-based Asian noodle. I'll buy a pack of them sometime in the near future and show you guys what I mean. But you have to actually rinse the things off because they smell really musty when you open the package. But you rinse them off, you cook them like you would spaghetti. They're decent. They're really not bad. And they're very, very low carb. I think an entire packet of them is only like 8 or 9 carbs. And that's supposedly like 2 or more portions. So that's kind of what I was doing. At the same time, because I tend to be a little obsessive. Ooh, I'm going to get sprinkled here. At the same time, I also started doing some fasting, which was hard at first, particularly with blood sugar issues. And that's another big one that I would say if you're considering it, you would definitely want to speak to your healthcare provider first. I'm at the fort here, and this is really neat. I'm going to back the camera around. I'm at a cabin. I'm going to back in here. Maybe let the light adjust. I'm at an old historic cabin. There's the wood stove, heater and cook stove. Dining table. Bed. Very little furniture, wash equipment, and a pretty steep ladder stair up to what I can only assume is a sleeping loft. Anyway, that's the kind of fun stuff that's around here. So, back to fasting. I did that as well. I started the keto first, and then I started doing the fasting. And basically, I was doing what they call OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, OMAD. And that worked pretty well for me too. You get to a point where you are perpetually a little peckish, a little hungry, but you don't mind it. You can just kind of feel that in the background. And it really wasn't difficult or unpleasant. Again, check with your healthcare provider before you try it. I actually didn't, which was not very smart of me. I really should have, particularly somebody in my shape. But I did it anyway. And I didn't have any, negative repercussions. I lucked out, I guess, and I had largely positive repercussions in terms of feeling better, losing weight. The other thing that I didn't really account for when I first did it was that my thinking and just my head in general would feel clearer. But it really did. I felt much more cogent. I felt much more nimble in my mind. And that was a really nice added benefit. So I'm curious how many of you have tried it, what your experiences have been. if you were able to stick with it, or if it threw up some challenges at you that you weren't able to continue with, and how that went for you. Yeah, again, let's make this a community. Let's make this dialogue, conversation about what we're all here for, which is health, trying not to die, but also kind of thinking about getting a little wheezy. Thinking about how we can help each other. How can we have those conversations online and say, hey, have you guys had this happen? You know, I tried eating this and it really didn't work for me. Or I tried eating this and oh my gosh, it's a miracle. Or, and this is the one that I get myself into and I have to be careful with right now. Oh my God, I felt so good after walking 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to do that again in a few hours. And then I wake up the next morning and my calves are tight because I'm an impatient middle-aged guy and I don't stretch. Or my ankles hurt. Or, for people my size, my feet swell up. Things like that. All those really glamorous parts of becoming middle-aged and overweight. So, whatever your experiences have been, share them. I guarantee if we get enough of us here talking about it, we're going to find a lot of commonalities and a lot of ways to support each other and a lot of ways to help each other grow and hold each other accountable. I'm already finding, and this is just day 3, that walking around like an idiot with a camera on a selfie stick, as cringe, as the kids say, as that is holding me accountable. And it's really you guys. It's the idea that you are going to not watch this channel if I just up and quit. If I let this go, it was all a waste. Except for the walking. The walking isn't the waste. But me wondering, me asking questions, wondering what you do, who you are, where you are, and how you're trying to improve your situation, that would all be lost if I slack, if I let this go. You know, and again, I think I said 2 days ago, I'm not going to do this every single day, although hopefully I'll get to a point where I do. I do think it's probably prudent for somebody like me to do it a couple days and then take a day off. A couple of days, take a day off, just to let, muscles and tendons relax and not get overstressed. So, but within that, I've got to try to stay accountable to myself and to you all, because I want this to work. I want this to work for me, and I want it to work for you. I think there are probably millions of us out there who are just like me. Whether you're 50-something, whether you're male or female, or identify some other way, you're feeling the same situation in your life. You're feeling not as healthy as you want to be. You're feeling, and I don't want to shame myself or anybody else, but you don't feel like you look the way you want to look. I said in yesterday's video, when I was in my late 20s, I was a decent looking dude and I had a 6-pack. Now, a lot of us were good looking and had a 6-pack in our 20s just by virtue of being in our 20s. But I took it seriously. I cared about it. It was important to me. And some of that was vanity, but a lot of it was just health and feeling good and feeling strong. Ah, youth. But I want that for all of us. I want us all to be able to share and find our way there. And so, another beautiful day in western Montana. I'll be back.